Before you spend any money on building or asking development to build something out, you need to be clear about what you are trying to achieve by solving that gap, articulating that to stakeholders, and the commercial reasoning behind it.
You're listening to 15-Minute Mastery, a show that empowers you with insights from leading iGaming experts to enhance your personal or business performance. The show is brought to you by the AI-powered data analytics platform Blask and supported by tech-driven affiliate and media company Already Media, Lala Stars, the leading casino partnership program, and Next.io, the world's iGaming community. Hey everyone, and welcome back to 15M Mastery. Today, we're joined by the one and only Rohini Sardana, founder of Vice Wager, an iGaming commercial consultancy. Rohini is the huge iGaming expert with a vast range of experience in commercial and product. Today, we'll explore the journey of bringing B2B iGaming products from concept to successful market launch. Welcome, Rohini.
Thank you, Dima. Excited to be here and share insights based on my experience.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being with us. I've been a fan of yours for a very long time, and your journey has been truly remarkable. So I cannot wait to extract your insights and knowledge. So let's start with the first question. The iGaming market can often feel crowded with solutions and vendors. How do you identify genuine and unmet needs for new B2B products?
Very, very good question. And it is a crowded market. And it does feel like that. Part of the reason why the iGaming market is so competitive is because of a flood of generic and copycat solutions. So you can find lots of solutions, yet true opportunities do lie, and they lie in deeply understanding the pain points of existing products and what they don't solve. So my approach typically has combined analyzing operator feedback, studying emerging player trends, and identifying areas where existing solutions fall short through competitor analysis. So I can give you an example based on the last job that I was doing. I was working closely with brands transitioning between iframe solutions and API-driven models, and that revealed gaps in their speed to market strategies. So in this case, by focusing on those inefficiencies, I was able to identify and pinpoint unmet needs and craft strategies around that to address them. I can also actually give a really great example of somebody within our industry who's done exactly that. And it's around feeds and integration of feeds. And their solution is essentially a unified feed hub whereby all the big feed providers connect into them. And for an operator, you only need one unified feed connection. Of course, you need to have commercial arrangements with the feed providers to enable their feed through this particular hub. It's a simple idea, but what they've done there is honed in on the problem, the challenge that integrating multiple feed providers is costly and expensive for operators. And operators would rather, for instance, focus on content that drives revenue versus integrations, right? So this particular company clearly understood the market and went in and identified that particular niche.
I absolutely love what you just said, and it actually reminds me what Richard Branson also mentioned, that identifying market gaps and problems in the customer service was always a path into building the most successful of his businesses. So you kind of, doubling down on that. But can you walk us through the process of turning these, market gaps, which you've identified, into viable B2B product concepts? And maybe you can tell us some frameworks which guides your approach here.
Absolutely. One thing I will say is turning a market gap into a viable concept. This process and the frameworks that I'm going to reference now is very important. Before you spend any money on building or asking development to build something out, you need to be clear about what you are trying to achieve by solving that gap, articulating that to stakeholders, and the commercial reasoning behind it. This part of the process for me has also touched multiple frameworks at different milestones. But at its core, what you're essentially working out is product market fit, right? There's no point building a product that nobody wants to buy. So it might solve a problem, but is solving that problem of any value? And this is the crux of it. If you can remember this throughout your product journey, I think you'll go a long, long way in having a sustainable and successful product. Personally, I rely on multiple approaches and frameworks, but at their core, they are around market research paired with iterative stakeholder feedback and collaboration. Now, in the B2B world, you can have pure B2B solutions where your core stakeholder is just the operator. In my experience, for instance, I've worked across B2B and B2C products, right? I.e., what the end user will use. So doing market research in that regard can be both external and internal, right? Plus, it should be included with operator input to ensure that what you're actually solving has value for the operator and that they will buy it. And that is the fundamental part of this step. It's a solid foundation. If you are able to get operators at the start to go, yes, we think we will be able to buy this if it was there because it solves XYZ, guess what? You're nearly 50% of the way to building out your proposition. So you've now identified a gap in the market. You're trying to validate whether or not somebody will buy it. You've got external consultants, external agencies to help you with the consumer research. You now have to start talking to the operators and internal teams to move to the next stage, right? Which is building out the concept. So what the tools I've used in the past is to map out customer journeys, both B2C and B2B. And what you're doing there is one, understanding the friction points, the problems, the issues that you're really trying to solve. You're defining specific outcomes for both end user and the operator. There's a number of tools you can use to map out journeys. These can be as simple as pen and paper, and I have lots of those. I'm a pen and paper person. I scribble all the time. I take notes. I jot down my ideas. These days, you can, of course, use Figma to create fancy workflows. You can use Canva. And if you want to go a step further, throw all your ideas into an AI solution called Mapify, which is what I'm now using these days because of so many thoughts in my brain that need mapping out. From there, I've adapted agile methodologies. So let's go back to idea, concept, validation. That's the phase we're in. We're really validating what we're going to do in terms of our concept. And then you can start building out your prototypes. So the methodologies typically most people adopt is agile. The name says it all. It's an agile methodology, a framework for building software to validate your concepts, right? Through prototypes. Prototypes lead to MVPs. And I want to make a quick note here. MVPs aren't prototypes. You can refine and ditch prototypes and they're used for design and usability testing. But an MVP, which stands for minimum viable product, is what you take to the market so that it's usable and stable and actually allows you to learn from how users use it. And the point of that MVP is every business has a constraint. Every product person has a constraint, which typically tends to be resources, money and people. So you're not going to go all out and throw all your eggs in one basket initially and start building the maximum viable product, right? From MVP, you want to go to MVP, maximum viable product, eventually. But you start with an MVP to learn because so far you've only had feedback and ideas and you've mapped those out, but you've not had real world use cases on that. And that's where the MVP comes in. For example, when I was building out a betting product in 2018, we used an external agency to get direct feedback from end users on the concept. And they were a target set of demographic that I had decided would be right for the solution that I was building. And we viewed their interaction and emotional experiences with the product concepts. There was no physical piece of software. There was mood boards, there was visuals, there was concepts that I'd drawn up, and you can use existing tool sets, websites, etc., to kind of hone in on that. But that research was really important for two reasons. One, it confirmed that we were on the right track. Two, it also identified that we probably needed to hone in on a particular sport to help with the launch. And that would allow us to build the MVP. So very, very insightful and useful. And we use that research to communicate this part of the MVP process to operators as well, to give them comfort that this isn't a solution that we as a provider or me think it's great to have, but here's consumers saying they would use it and why they would use it. All of these elements help you essentially to build out a roadmap, right? Both short term and long term. And I want to reiterate here again a concept that I use often and I keep reminding myself is product market fit. And we'll come to that in a lot more detail as we go through the session, I guess. But to reiterate on the frameworks, because I've touched on processes and tools earlier, what I've used in the past that has been really useful, both for business and product analysis, very simple. SWOT analysis. What is SWOT analysis? It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You map that out in a grid and you start putting either your competitors there or whichever existing solutions are that you are looking at, and start identifying where the weaknesses are, right? Including barriers to entry. And this is very key when you're doing competitor analysis. And I want to pause here for a second because you have an idea. You might have competitors or you might not. And that is what you really need to question. Why is nobody else doing this? Is it because the technology didn't exist and the product failed? Did its execution fail or did the idea fail? Right? Very, very key to what you're building and whether or not it's going to be successful in the future. The second framework that I use in addition to SWOT, and I use SWOT quite significantly because I used to do a lot of new market entry analysis. But the second thing you need to use, and again, tried and tested, nothing fancy, nothing super new, 7Ps. You can have 4Ps, you can have 7Ps. Dima, I think on one of the sessions and podcasts, you said you love Ps. Well, here you go. We've got 7Ps, and that's what you use during the definition process, right? So product, place, promotion, price. If you're building a physical product, physical evidence, people, very important. So all these elements help you to provide a targeted business case, really. And then the last thing, which I use quite often, which kind of leans towards building out and communicating the value proposition, is a FAB list. And it's FAB because it's literally FAB. F stands for features, A for advantages, and B for benefits. So FAB, features, advantages, benefits. List them out. If a feature has no advantage or benefit, it doesn't belong in your product, for instance. I'll give you a real world example, right? In 24/7 in-play content. 7 years ago, it was unheard of. It didn't exist. 24/7 in-play content. For example, continuous live streaming of events where you can bet on. That's a feature that you're building in your product. And there's lots of suppliers out there now doing that. Think virtual sports, right? 24/7. What does it do for the end user? It provides them continuous live content to come back and keep betting on. So for the operator, what are the benefits? Well, straight away, market differentiation at that time when it was pioneered. There was no other operator or provider doing that. So first mover advantage was key here for the said operator. And of course, it's a unique product offering, which sets them apart from competitors. Secondly, you have customer satisfaction. Customer comes to your website, they have something to bet on versus your competitor, right? And then, of course, last but not least, which every business wants and looks for, is revenue and margin gains. So by having, and virtuals, for instance, is typically a higher margin product than most other sports betting products. So that was in essence a fab list, very high level, of course, for virtual content, for instance.
Wow, I absolutely love what you just said, and it's a true masterpiece about the company's start, the MVP approach, how to get these early adopters, how to get their feedback, and most importantly, iterative implementation of that feedback. I really like the strategies you mentioned on how to make your product stand out of the competition during the full launch of your product. And it was truly remarkable. And I really enjoyed what you just said. And thank you so much, Rohini, for sharing all of your beautiful insights with us. It was truly insightful and remarkable.
Thank you.